All right, hey, good afternoon. Hey, we're going to do a little bit of impromptu here because we have two squads that have been competing this year. And if you've been over there with me eating lunch and waiting to see who our winner of the best squad competition was, it lasted all the way till 1500. So that's why we're a little late. In fact, one of our squads is still absent. They're on the way over, so they'll be here in a little bit. So with that, when we do get started on the panel portion, some of those members of that squad were on our panel. So, so what we'll do is, if they're not here, we'll replace those with some of these squad members that are sitting in front of me, and they'll get some questions thrown at them for the very first time, and you'll get to see how they react under pressure, which they've been doing for the last, 19, 20 days. That's what they've been doing. So don't worry. Don't feel bad for them. They're good. They're good. They've been doing that for about 3 weeks now. So before I start, let me scan the room and see who I have in here. So I'm looking for a couple of people. All right, I don't see them, and if they come in, I will recognize them in a little while. But General Daniels, thank you so much for being our host today and for introducing me for this event. There he is. I missed my old boss sitting right in front of me, General Jensen. So hey, I want to give a hand to both General Jensen and General Daniels for representing the reserve component today and receiving their awards at the opening ceremony. So join me in giving them a round of applause. I guess I wasn't looking for you in civilian clothes, sir. So, but hey, also, I'll hold off on our squads. Our squads are a little disappointed right now. I won't mix words about it. If they had not performed well and they had not given it their all, they probably wouldn't be disappointed right now. All right, but they left it all out there on that field, and man, they gave it every bit of effort they had, and they represented us very well. You saw they won that physical event in the park. That was not the only physical event they won. They won just about every physical event that was tested at the Best Warrior Contest, and they also won about every shooting event that we had. So, so they're a little disappointed, but we're not disappointed, fellas. We are proud of you. We're proud to call you our brothers in arms. We're proud to call you warriors, and we're proud of the job that you did. You recognized us well. So let's give them a hand. I'm going to start it off with a video. Transformation in a complex world. We're living in a complex world, and I hope that that video, hit home that we are living in a complex world. That is the threat, but that is what we mean when we say a complex world. So when we talk about transformation, we often think of modernization. When I think of modernization, and I don't know what you think about when you think of modernization, but what I think of when I think about modernization is I think of things like the Virginia-class nuclear sub. I went through it fast, but the Tomahawk cruise missile, because it is fast. The M1A2 SEP main battle tank. The Dark Eagle hypersonic missile launcher. The F-35A Lightning II 5th generation fighter. Now, hey, everybody's modernizing, so I threw one in here for the whole DOD. That is a Marine. That is an electric dirt bike. Hey, y'all can laugh. Y'all can laugh now. Y'all can help me out here. All right, Space Force. Hey, we're not there yet. I see you, Chief. I see you. I put that in there just for you, Chief. So, so hey, now obviously I'm joking around, and those last two, but this is what we often associate with transforming. We talk about equipment. However, it is more. It is also about what is in these red circles. Our people. So when it comes to our people, the Army National Guard is second to no one. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the successes that we've had in the National Guard. And I'm not talking about successes over the whole history of the National Guard. I'm talking about recent history. So hey, I don't have to go any further than 2023. That's where I'll start my time at. So 2023, International Best Sniper Competition. Who are the best shooters in the world in 2023? The Army National Guard. We put 4 teams into the top 10. And that's the top 10 in the world. Not the top 10 in the Army National Guard, not the top 10 in the Army, not the top 10 in the Department of Defense, but the top 10 in the world. We put 4 teams in the competition. All 4 of our teams made it in the top 10. 9 years in a row, the Army National Guard are the best small arms shooters in the world. 9 years in a row. I'll come back to the small arms piece in a bit when I get to the end of this, but 9 years in a row. Nobody else can say that. 2024, Best Sniper Competition, International Best Sniper Competition. Army National Guard finished 2nd, 6th, and 11th. We put 3 teams in it this year. So, and we finished 2nd, 6th, and 11th. Only team that beat us was the 75th Ranger Regiment. Best tank crew in the world. I showed a picture of a tank up there. Well, who's got the best tank crew to go in that tank? The Army National Guard. The Tennessee Army National Guard wins the Sullivan Cup this year. The best tank crew in the world. Best Ranger Competition. Finished 2nd in the Best Ranger Competition. Captain Tanner Potter, Sergeant First Class Michael Brown, finished 2nd in the Best Ranger Competition. And I will tell you, this is not just a off time period. Hey, National Guard lucks up and they come in 2nd. We regularly put teams in the top 10 in the Best Ranger Competition, and we've won the Best Ranger Competition. That brings me to the group that's sitting right here on the front row right now. The 2024 Army National Guard Best Squad, selected to compete at the all-Army level. I've already told you how well they did. They didn't go home empty-handed. They won the event, the CrossFit event on the field here in D.C. When was that? 2 days ago? 2 days ago. So, and they competed well. They represented well. But that wasn't all. We also had another team in the Best Squad competition. To their right, your left, is sitting a team that was deployed. So they were deployed over to the CENTCOM Theater Operations. And they said, hey, we're going to volunteer to compete in this Best Squad competition in Army Central Command, AOR. So they competed, and they won their way up through the levels, and they ended up recognizing Army Central at the Army Futures Command level competition. And then they won the Army Futures competition and earned their right to compete here at the All-Army level. And I'm telling you, I can read it on their face too. I can read a little disappointment. Y'all wasn't in here when I talked about the other squad, But that disappointment comes from competing and knowing that you left it all out on the field. If you hadn't done that and you hadn't done well and you hadn't had that expectation that, man, I think we did well enough to win, then it wouldn't hit home like it hit home. It hit home because of that. So again, I want to give another round of applause to these young warriors that are sitting on this front row. All right, I'm scared to hit this button because I don't know what's going to happen on the slides because it's going to get into playing some music in a minute. So I could talk about our people all day long, but I need to stay on track. So what are some of the things that make our Army Guardsmen want to serve? So this is audience participation. What's some things that make us want to serve? Anybody? Give me something, Sergeant Miska. Competition, that's one. What about? Anything else? Duty. All right, anything else?
Something bigger than yourself.
Something bigger than yourself? All right, nobody's hit it yet. Come on. Come on. What's over here? What's over here on this side of the room, on the front row? Family. Family. All right. So that's right, family. That's one of the big reasons I serve. The Guard has basically allowed me to raise my family over the last 35 years, and they are a huge part of the reason that I serve. So when I think about that, it's why when I looked at this panel, I said, hey, we're going to do this panel a little different this year. We're going to do this panel, and I'm going to talk about the things that are on my mind when it's time to do this panel. So what are the couple things that are on my mind when it's time to do this panel? Family, that's on my mind. The best squad, that's on my mind. So we're going to bring the best squad up, and we're going to bring some family members up. But before we do that, I asked my wife to help me co-host or co-moderate this panel. So my beautiful wife of 35 years, Karen Raines, is going to come up here, and she's going to introduce the other family members.
Good afternoon. It's such an honor and a joy for me to be here in the presence of you all and sharing the stage with my husband and our wonderful Guard families. So today we have three members that come in, and we have Brooke Ballinger and Jenny Miska and Craig Miska. If we'd like for you to come up, please. We appreciate you all joining us today. Craig, would you like to tell a little about yourself, please?
Hi, my name's Craig Miska, father to Sergeant Nathaniel Miska on the best squad. We are this is my wife, Jenny. We've been happily married 29 years. We are from Minnesota. I am currently retired 30-year state police game warden from Minnesota. And as a family member of our other son is also in the Minnesota National Guard. He's a 13 Bravo cannoneer, currently on AUSA orders. And as a family member of two soldiers, it's an incredible honor. And to have the opportunity for my wife and I to accompany our son at such a level that we're at, to mingle and meet great people such as yourselves and top brass, from all aspects of the Army. It's truly an honor. So thank you everybody for having us.
Jenny, would you like to say a few words?
I'd just like to say thank you all for your service, and we're really proud to get to be here and speak in front of all of you.
Brooke.
I'm Brooke Ballinger. My husband is the State Command Sergeant Major of the Georgia Army National Guard. We have been married 26 years. We have two children. One is a soldier. He's the E4, a specialist Ballinger. He's on a deployment right now. He's in Kosovo. I think it's been a huge part of our family, to serve. I feel like we all serve in a certain way, and it's just the National Guard is a big part of our family.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, let's give our families another round of applause before we start asking them the hard questions. All right, and hey, I had a vision in my mind of how this thing was going to go, and then I changed when we were not on time. We had to kind of reinvent the approach and how we were going to go here. So I'm just going to go with that way. So I'm just going to pick. They don't know. They thought they know who was coming up here. All right. So, but they really didn't know who was coming up here because I just made my mind up of who was going to come up here. Obviously. The easy one is because we got two Miskas up here. We might as well round it out with a third Miska. So Sergeant Miska, come on up here and join us. And then, hey, if you're not up here right now, I'm just going to let you know I'm going to fire the first three I got up here. After we start asking questions, I'm going to replace them with another three. All right? So, Sergeant Nakamura, come on up. Sergeant Hernandez, come on up. And I'm going to turn it over to them and let them introduce themselves here in a second. But before I do that, I'm going to hit this button and see if what I think is going to happen is going to happen. All right, we'll go ahead and start on this side. Sergeant Miska, go ahead and tell the audience who you are a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sergeant Nathaniel Miska from Minnesota Army National Guard, from the small little town of Ortonville, Minnesota. And it's got a couple of things for me. So obviously blessed to have my family here in Washington, D.C. for the second time. And I'm a secondary MOS is 12 Whiskey Carpenter, and I'm proud of it, in the National Guard. And then primary MOS at 12 Bravo Combat Engineer. And I've been in the National Guard for 4.5 years, been to like 3 drills, and never been to AT. So.
You got to tell them what you've been doing, because why you have not been to drill or AT, Sergeant Miska.
That's because I did the best squad competition in 2022, the first best squad competition, and then went to a couple of schools after that, and then Sergeant Major Raines gave me the honor of competing again this year, so just wrapping it up again with that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sergeant Nakamura from the Hawaii National Guard. I'm originally from Kona, Hawaii, born and raised there. For work, I am a financial analyst for Booz Allen. I'm going to try to find their booth later on, hopefully. And then family, I have a brother who was currently serving in the Army Reserves out of Hawaii. Recently went active duty out of 1st Cav now. And I initially began my contract in the active duty side of things with the 173rd. The contract ended. Now I have 5 years in the Hawaii National Guard. And yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Staff Sergeant Renato Hernandez. So I'm originally from Venezuela, South America, but I now live in the great state of Georgia. Live in Atlanta, downtown Atlanta. I currently work in sales for a company called Power Home Remodeling. We work very closely with DoD and SkillBridge, so if anybody's looking for a job, see me after this. I have a beautiful family. My sister lives here in D.C., and my family, my mother and father live in Miami. And before you ask, yes, they're okay from the hurricane. I'm a squad leader in 1st Battalion, 121st Infantry of the 48th Brigade IBCT, and I've been in the National Guard for 10 years.
All right. Hey, thank you. Let's give the soldiers a round of applause. Hey, the Secretary told us to focus on 3 storylines. Actually said 4, so I went with 3. So the three storylines that I went with is Be All You Can Be, Army National Guard life, and making a difference. So when you look at those 3 storylines, what better group to have up here than for Be All You Can Be, making a difference in Army National Guard life, than family members of our best squads in the National Guard. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my wife, and she's going to start with a round of questions for the family members, and then I'll ask a round of questions for the soldiers. And if you have any questions in the audience, make your way to one of the microphones in the middle, and then we will detour from up here, and we will go to your questions. So, Karen?
Jenny, what has been the most rewarding part of being a National Guard family member for you?
For me, it was definitely Ranger School graduation, because many of you probably don't know, Nathaniel did it 2 times. So his funding was cut while he was up in mountains. And so we had just gotten home, and all of a sudden there was a knock at the door around midnight, and Nathaniel was home, so of course I thought he had to have been injured to be sent home. But then after Thanksgiving, then he was able to, thanks to John, get the funding arranged and was back and started over again. But he did it. He went 62 and through, or whatever, the second time around. So, and the graduation was just, it was a great honor. I mean, he certainly deserved it, as all of you Rangers have.
Thank you. Brooke, what has been the most rewarding part of being a National Guard family member for you?
I think the most rewarding is all the friendships that we have made over all the years. All these soldiers have, become family members. They come to our family functions. I think that's probably the most rewarding.
Craig,
Yes.
could you share with us, how has being a family member of the National Guard influenced your perspective on the service and sacrifice of the Army National Guard?
Well, being lucky enough to be a parent of 2 U.S. Army National Guard soldiers, I'm doubly proud. We are a very patriotic family, and watching our boys compete in the national level, best squad, just being proud of what they do at their drills, helping out their communities and such, it adds to, we're 100% proud 24 hours a day, but watching them do their activities within the Guard just more so makes us proud to be Americans. And every one of you, what you guys do, I consider all of you my family too. And so yes, just all their accolades, it's just like I tell my wife every time we go to an Army event or something, it's like back in high school, it's like the greatest away game ever. And we know more things are to come, but family-wise, it just draws us closer.
Thank you. Jenny, Craig, and Brooke, they all have something in common. You shared that your sons joined the National Guard at 17 years old while in high school. How did you feel signing for your child to join, Brooke?
That was extremely emotional, very hard, but we have a long line of family members that have been in the Army, and so we kind of basically told Chandler, hey, you either go to college or you join, and I feel like that he's made the right decision, and he joined the Army, and I think he's become a better person, better man for it. So.
Jenny, can you share your experience with that?
Well, I asked, and both of our boys, our oldest wanted to join when he was 17, but because he had been weightlifting, he wasn't reaching the measurements, so he ended up waiting. So Nathaniel got to join first, and his junior year of high school, and I just asked him, I said, are you feeling like your faith is strong enough that you're willing to give up your life for our country? And if you are, we'll gladly sign the papers for you, but you have to tell me that that's what you're prepared to do, is to give up your life. And he said he was, so we signed happily.
Thank you. We're so proud of both of them. Yeah. Craig, would you share a little bit about how it felt for you?
It was a great honor for me. It was for my son to approach and say that he wants to join the U.S. military. My dad was in the U.S. Army, 2nd Armored Division during the 60s, and so we've got a proud family heritage of Army members past. But for my son to approach and say, I would like to do this, serve his country, better himself, knowing that at 17, you know, he's 1 year out from his 18th birthday, but hitting on what my wife said, you know, for a young man to, you know, we gave him the idea of, you know, please do some research, you know, is this what you want to do? But when that time came to put my pen on paper, there was no hesitation. So we were proud of him, but we knew that in that year's time, he'd be at basic and AIT and still finish his high school. So we knew that, you know, there wouldn't be any chance of deployment during that time. So, but we thought he's the coolest kid on the block. So.
Hey, Jenny, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because most of the people in the room, they've heard me talk before, and they always hear me talk about the first stanza of the Code of Conduct. And I always tell everybody that their family ought to understand the first stanza of the Code of Conduct, which is, I'm an American fighting in the forces which guard our country and our way of life, and I'm prepared to give my life in its defense. You know, that is a huge commitment. And families ought to understand the commitment that their soldiers, their service members have made. And to me, we have to memorize tons of things in the military, you know, memorize soldier creeds, NCO creeds, Army song, and y'all remember that, because we're going to sing the Army song by the time this thing's over with, all right? But we have to memorize all these things in the military. But that one thing to me is probably the most important thing that I've ever memorized, the first stanza of the Code of Conduct, because it lays out the commitment that service members make. And I am so happy to hear your answer, because it tells me that you might not have been able to recite the first Code of Conduct that like I could, but you said the same thing. Okay. So I appreciate that. Hey, I'm going to do mine a little different with the service members here. I'm just going to ask the question, and whoever wants to answer it, grab the microphone, talk into it, and tell us what you got. So how do you involve your family in understanding and supporting your National Guard commitments?
So a little background. I am the first service member to join the United States military, and my great-grandfather was an Italian Marine, World War I, good guy. But, you know, I came from a corporate background. My dad was an executive vice president. So for my family, they didn't understand at first why I wanted to join. They were not opposed to it. My mom was opposed to it. But, you know, they had questions. They didn't really understand. And to be honest with you, it wasn't something that I could really explain. You know, I came from a country in South America where we didn't have panels and people and the ability to speak our minds, right? And I just felt like I had a duty, a sense of duty to pick up a rifle and say, if it's got to be somebody, it's going to be me. And it took my parents a while. And I remember the first time my mom kind of looked at me and said, oh, okay, was when I graduated basic training. I had received an AAM for a PT score, and my mom said when she saw me give the salute and, you know, receive my award, she finally understood that I was doing this for myself, for my country, and she supported me. So since then, she's been to every graduation. She also went to my Ranger School graduation, took me 2 times as well, and I was not 62 and through. But, you know, and since then, they've always been very supportive. They do what parents do. They worry. They ask, can I send you M&Ms or Snickers? What do you need? How can we help? And that's been my experience.
All right, thank you. What are the physical and mental demands of being a National Guard soldier?
Yeah, physical and mental demands of being a National Guard soldier. I think it's, you got to be fit, part of the job. Being on your feet, as we've seen throughout this competition, it's you don't got to be good at just one thing. It's a whole, it's the whole embodiment of fitness. You got to be able to run, to ruck, to pull your own weight, and to do all that, to train on your own time. I think that's what makes the Guard a little bit special, opposed to the active Army, where no matter what, you're out there every day. But for us, you got to find the time, no matter what your work schedule looks like.
I think that begs a follow-up question, because all 3 of these service members you see on stage are traditional Guardsmen, meaning that they're 39 days a year plus the extra stuff they volunteer for, they get chosen for school, that adds on to it. But for 39 days a year, that's what all 3 of these do. And the majority of this front row, that's what they do. So Sergeant Miska, how do you as a traditional soldier, how do you stay fit and ready?
It's definitely very complex, especially in regards to what we have just been doing. But it definitely stems from your daily habits that, our active duty guys did a very good job of pointing out for us, that all we have time to do all day is apparently work out and just train. But it definitely is very important for us. So having all of our civilian lives, a lot of our guys have family and kids, and then all of us have civilian jobs. So it comes down to your daily habits that, come down to your fitness for Guard as well, and that's super important. And at all times, we have to be prepped to come and do this kind of activity. Sergeant Major Raines gave me a call 5 days before I flew out to Benning to train for this, and had no idea it was coming. So if soldiers in that situation didn't stay prepared, you wouldn't be able to come and compete. So those daily habits are definitely very crucial of being an M-Day Guardsman.
No, and I would say that also our third part of our triangle, when we talk about, we talk about our families, we talk about our service, the employer part is also a huge part. So I've often wondered when I call Sergeant Miska, does he really have a job? Because when I called him and offered him the chance to be the team leader on the squad, because we were out of team leaders to move up to the level, he didn't say, I'll call you back, Sergeant Major. He said, I'm pumped, I'm excited. When does it start? When do you need me, Sergeant Major? And I'm like, do you need to go ask anybody? Do you need to go talk to anybody? He was committed. He was all on it. So I'll throw one up to the 3 members on the stage. How flexible is the Guard when it comes to conflict between drill weekends, annual training versus personal lives?
I can definitely start on that. It's definitely a balancing act. There's a give and take for sure, especially if you have a good connection with your Guard. Everyone understands your personal life responsibilities, and as well, your family and your employers understand your military responsibilities. So it definitely is a balancing act. You do have your required service on the Guard side, but they do a very good job of accommodating that, which is something I've been very grateful for. So, for example, if you have a family emergency, things like that, those always get accommodated. So, but it's definitely a give and take, and that goes into every step of being in the military as well.
I'll let all three comment on that because I'm about to fire you.
Yeah, staying flexible is definitely the key. Both yourself as well as, hopefully you got a good employer that understands what you do matters, not just during drill, but as well as when we get activated for natural disasters, to be ready to help with the community.
So for flexibility, I think it's paramount that you as an individual, when you're in the National Guard, have flexibility. I do understand that as an organization, the National Guard is pretty flexible, but I think it's also important that we take accountability and understand that I signed up for something. When COVID hit, I had just gotten back from Afghanistan, and my country asked me to do something that none of us had ever done before. And it wasn't a time for me to ask for flexibility. It was a time for me to say, Roger that, where do you need me? But in the other moments when I have, for example, I was supposed to go to a course, a train the trainer type course, and I said yes to it without discussing it with a certain significant other, and then found out that she was having a graduation party, just graduated from Emory University. And I called my training NCO and I explained the situation. He said, don't even worry about it. I'll cover you. Go be with your family. We have a deployment coming up in a month. I need you to be ready for it, so go be with your family. And that's just the kind of mantra that goes into being in the Guard, right? You have your responsibilities. When you put your right hand up and you swear in, the enemy doesn't care if you're National Guard. It doesn't care if you're active duty, right? It's all the same to them. But on the same side, the National Guard will be there for you, especially with school, right? I know that I was in college at one point when I was in the National Guard, and my command was great with working around my finals exams, or even bring study material into the field. My squad leader saying, you don't need to worry about fire guard, you need to go study your notes in the field, right? So I appreciated that flexibility.
All right. Hey, thank you. And let's give this group a round, because I'm going to ask them to leave, and I'm going to bring three more back up. So thank you for your commitment. Thank you for coming up on the panel. Sergeant Thompson. Who was it? Was it Sergeant Baxter? Was it you? Who was the volunteer? All right, both of you come up. Hold on, Sergeant Baxter, I'm going to fire you.
Oh, thank you.
I forgot. Dad, come on up, Dad. Come on up. All right, Sergeant Thompson, go ahead and start off by telling the audience a little bit about yourself. Grab that microphone so they can hear you.
Yeah, so my name is Sergeant Trace Thompson. I'm from Missouri. I'm from a small town called Glasgow, and I'm currently working on my master's at the University of Missouri. I've been married for 2 years to my wife, Alyssa, and I'm 11 Bravo in the Army National Guard, former bridge crew engineer, and I've been in for about 6 years.
Good afternoon. I'm Specialist Peyton Martin. I'm from the Georgia National Guard, from Savannah, Georgia, actually Richmond Hill, if you're familiar with the area. I don't do anything on the civilian side, but I have been order hopping since I've been in for about 3 years. I've got a brother and a sister as far as family goes, and mostly for the National Guard, it's been really good to me. I've just been going school to school, and they've just been treating me well.
Hey, Special Martin, tell us about this order hopping. What have you been doing on this order hopping? You hadn't just been doing ordinary order hopping, so give us a little detail.
So when I joined, I found out about a program called the RTLI program that's offered to OSIT candidates in the National Guard. And what that is it's an opportunity for combat MOSs to go to a pre-ranger course. So you get out of OSIT, you go to a pre-ranger course, and then you go to the National Guard's RTAC pre-ranger course, and then you go to Ranger School. The Warrior Training Center does a great job of prepping you physically and then mentally for Ranger School, and then if you're successful, they will reward you with follow-on schools. So that's kind of the path that I took. I went to Ranger School, had a couple of follow-on schools that the Warrior Training Center was able to get me. And then when I got back, I had connections from people I worked with before, and they got me on ADOS orders and recruiting. I was a recruiter's assistant, just getting my active time up as I'm in. And then now I've been doing this for the past, I guess with the deployment, the past year.
All right, thank you. Special West.
My name is Specialist Dalian West. I'm from a small town called Camilla, Georgia. I'm in the Georgia National Guard, also like him. I'm currently a warehouse associate. I plan on working at the WTC when I get back. I got a fiance and I got a newborn daughter, 3 months old. And I've been in for 4 years.
Hey, let's give the new dad a hand. He's had this daughter while he's been deployed. And hey, I'll turn it back over to Karen.
Brooke, we've been talking about deployments over here. How do you handle the challenges and stresses that come with being a National Guard family?
Drink a lot of alcohol. No, I'm just joking.
Whatever it takes.
No, we don't. Mainly try to keep a routine. When we have our days off, we try to do, family functions together. My oldest loves to ski. My youngest loves to fish. So whenever we can get out and do things, when we have days to do it, it's probably the most rewarding and unstressful thing that we can do.
Jenny, what support systems or resources have been the most helpful for your family while your loved ones are away on National Guard training or deployment?
Well, really, Facebook and the support groups through Ranger School and with all the competitions that Nathaniel has been in, they've done, everyone's done such a good job. So we can see pictures, and that always helps. Even though I don't always claim the right one. Sometimes you all look alike.
Craig, what traditions and or routines have you established to maintain a sense of normalcy during deployments or training while they're away?
Well, when it comes to traditions, when Nathaniel was at Ranger School, he too went RTLI, RTAC, Ranger School. We started just bought a green light bulb. So it's a shout out to being a former officer. If an officers are killed in line of duty, blue lights, such. But we bought a green light bulb for Nathaniel, and we happily, the light bulb on his end didn't seem like a little harder on his end, but for us, that light bulb stayed on for many months. So traditions of just being proud, thanks to Shutterfly and such, big poster boards. We'd have freeway signs up for our kids if they'd let us. But traditions, we let family members, because our family members like to be updated, so like through the Best Squad competition, traditions of letting aunts, uncles, and everybody know, what's going on. And just being proud, just always being proud patriots and, supporting the Guard for what they do. But traditions of just being strong family members, support, especially having two boys, and we can go on, but many traditions, but having our light bulb was a big one. And we always fly a flag, and from their younger days, it started off, just one more quick thing was, when the boys were young, we lived in a town in Duluth, Minnesota, and it was a July 4th parade. And at the time, we had a Medal of Honor winner, Mike Colillo from World War II, that lived in our town. And he was in the parade, and when Mike was the Grand Marshal, he was driving by, and I said, "Boys, stand up." So they stood up and salute, and Mike actually stopped the car, and the boys were able to shake a Medal of Honor winner's hand. So right from that time, we've always instilled in our boys, respect veterans, so they've always think, hold a door, or If you see a veteran's hat, thank them for their service, and just traditions that always go on.
Thank you.
Yes.
Brooke, are there any traditions or routines that you've established that help maintain that sense of normalcy?
Probably the most thing that helps us is calendar syncing. That is a big thing that we keep up with each other, that we know what's going on. Pretty much that's our normal routine that we keep going.
Thank
He's
you.
laughing at me. Look at him. You see him just laughing at me.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, what skills or experiences have you received from the Guard that have the biggest impact on your civilian career or personal development?
Yeah, I mean, right away, it's what we're doing now. When I started school, I never really did any public speaking. Now I have to all the time for work on a regular basis, and it's become a lot easier thanks to the Guard, thanks to talking in front of formations, thanks to doing things like this. It's really improved my civilian career, just learning to talk in front of people.
Will somebody in the Guard just throw you up on a stage unbeknownst to you and tell you talk? Hey, if your civilian career provides good pay and benefits, why would you want to join the National Guard?
I think that you can have good benefits from a civilian career, and the pay is good, but the National Guard offers a lot of things that the civilian side necessarily can't. There's the personal part, especially working in recruiting. I've seen some of the benefits. The personal part is you're serving your country, you're doing something for you and for other people. It's very selfless. I think that is an honorable thing. And then anything from scholarships, service cancelable loans, your health insurance. Health insurance is very, very expensive on the civilian side, and it is noticeably cheaper, especially now with the National Guard getting the same benefits as active. It's huge because a lot of people join active because of the benefits could be a little bit better, but the National Guard is pretty much getting reaping the same benefits, as well as you're compounding your benefits. A lot of civilian sector jobs, you're getting those benefits from them, and then the National Guard as well. So just the personal and then the compounding benefits are huge.
So what if there isn't a job available that translates to what you want to do in the civilian job market, Specialist West?
Can you repeat that, Sergeant Major? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so if there isn't a job available that translates into what you want to do, in the civilian world, if that job's not correlating into the Guard, what do you do? Because I know what you do, and it doesn't correlate into a civilian job per se. So what would you have as somebody's concerned about coming into Guard, that they don't see something that correlates over to the civilian world?
Sergeant Major, I can say that there's over like 200 MOSs that you can choose from, and just finding that option, like, I never thought I would be infantry Sergeant Major, but the opportunity just to do that is just amazing, honestly, Sergeant Major. I think just honestly, you could just find something that's for you, Sergeant Major.
All right.
That's how I look at it.
Thank you. Good job. So you got any questions left, Karen?
Just one or two more, and we'll finish our part. What advice would you give to other families who are new to the National Guard lifestyle? Jenny?
Roll with the punches, I guess. You never know what's next, and you just always need to be ready and prepared. So.
Craig?
Well, advice for other family members is to realize this is, now what am I trying to say? A lot of kids nowadays are focused on phones and technology, games, and such. But, for family members or young men and women, choosing to join the National Guard, is do some research and realize that, when you sign your name, take your oath that you are signing up for the United States military. And to realize that, there will be some sacrifices. There's a chance of possible deployment. You could have in-state deployments. But reach out if you know other family members prior too. Just ask other members that you maybe have known in the Guard, and just ask them questions. What is this like? But further, just be open-minded and to realize, that they're making a choice to help their country. Being on the state level, they're helping their state, and they're also benefiting themselves. They want to better themselves, and to be proud and support them for that.
Brooke, I know a lot of them call you Mama Brooke and Mama B, and so I know they appreciate all that you do. So what would you give advice to any of the new family members coming in?
I would say they need to be involved with the unit. They need to try to volunteer in any occasion when they have family day or anything like that, and they need to make friends. The more people you know, the easier it is to get through, this National Guard lifestyle that we have going on. It's much different than, active duty Army, and I feel like everyone out there tries to say that we're the active duty side, and we're completely different.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here.
Welcome.
All right, hey, are there any questions? I haven't seen anybody come up to the microphone, so any questions from the audience for any of the panel members?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I'm Colonel Touzard. I'm a French Army Reserve, and my son, who was born here in the U.S., enlisted with Marines, and I've seen as a parent the amazing support that they get from the Corps about family support. And the question I have for you is maybe more for Sergeant Major, which is, does the Guard allocate resources, personal time to help families support their own? Is there some kind of institutional way of working with families? Or, as maybe you describe, it's more families getting involved on their own and say, oh, we're going to support each other. What is the relationship between the families' support and the Guard asking families or working with families? I don't know if my question is clear.
No, I understand. And hey, I will start it off, and then I'll see if anybody else wants to chime in. But the answer to that is a little both. So we do provide resources, and we hire full-time people to kind of coordinate multiple units' family support programs. They're not assigned to one unit. They're assigned to multiple units or either areas. And since we're the Guard, every state does it a little different. But we provide some over-the-top resources, and then with those resources, they decide, along with usually a selected family member that wants to volunteer, they define their own program of family support for that. And then if they need follow-on resources because they're planning something, then we work with them to try to provide them some additional resources. Now, we are limited in that space, but we'll try to work with them the best we can to provide that. I don't know if anybody else wants to follow up.
I think the best family support or resource is just other families, other members that we can talk to and share our experience and just kind of gain a better understanding of what they're going through or what she's going through or has been through that she can offer and share with that family member or with the soldier itself.
But
Thank you.
I would also say it takes wins. So you got to have wins. You got to have people like the Miskas, and then that starts rolling, and then you start seeing more people want to get involved. You have to have people like Brooke Ballinger, that's called Mama B, that everybody in the Georgia National Guard knows, and then that starts that snowball, and then other people want to get involved. So you gotta win, and you gotta have success. So you gotta pick out those people that you know have a passion, that want to do it, and then it grows through your organization.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Hey. I thought you were going to let me down. You weren't going to ask a question this year, sir.
No. I'd like to ask a question to our two spouses, to Brooke and to Karen. And if you saw the Secretary of the Army's comments this morning at the opening ceremony, we're talking about transformation, and we're talking about transformation here in a complex world. And she talked about a lot of successes in transformation as it related to equipment, and then towards the end talked about the challenges of trying to transform our personnel system. to match the needs of young soldiers and young families today. And both of you have a long career in the Army Guard as supporters of your soldiers. If you could give the Secretary of the Army one thing as it relates to a change for a family policy or a soldier policy that you think that we need to make to help us help our soldiers continue to serve and serve successfully, if you have any recommendations for the Secretary of the Army. Thank you, ladies.
Well, I can say as a spouse, as a spouse, I know that we need to keep our family members happy. I love what he does, and he loves what he does. And so I try to support him as much as I can and want to be there. And as long as he's continuing loving what he does, I'm going to support him in all that I can. But I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I was going right there with it, and I will try to think of it.
I know what she was going to say. She was going to say, instead of all her travel with me coming out of the Reigns bank account, that maybe we ought to get some invitational travel orders, and we may authorize some family members some invitational travel orders. That's what she was going to say. Is that what you were going to say?
Thank you for the save, honey.
So, Brooke, anything from you?
I was told to talk about TRICARE. That is, it's very hard for junior soldiers to get through and navigate, and I even have issues with TRICARE ourselves. So I would think that need to do a little policy change on certain things for TRICARE. I know that's a big issue.
No, I think that's a good one, Brooke. And I tell people this, and if you're in my CSMAC, you know we talk about this a lot. We talk about being able to deliver the benefits and entitlements that we have, the ones that we say that we're going to deliver and that you earn as being a soldier. We have to get better on the delivery of those things. So I think that is a very good one. So thank you for that. Any other questions?
Okay.
All right. Hey, with no questions, I'm going to close, but we're not going to be done. We're going to do one last thing, and I already alluded to it earlier. You know, we can't gather as an army without singing what? The Army song. So we're going to do it on my cue, but we're going to do a little something first. But I'm going to close, and I'm going to talk about transforming in a complex world just for a second. And when I talk about transforming in a complex world, I think it's important that we look across this front row, we look across this panel stage, because we will not be successful at transforming if we forget about our people, which includes our soldiers and our families. So that's the whole reason that I decided that, hey, we're going to do a little different this year. We're going to talk to soldiers, and when I say we're going to talk to soldiers, I figured we should talk to our best soldiers. You know, we got our two best squads sitting right here that have taken turns coming up on this panel, and I guarantee you that the best soldiers are in the best squads, and the best squads are made because they got the best families. So that's the reason I brought their family members up here on stage, and man, that just sends a message to me. So that's all I've got in closing.